here on the show. My name is Johnny Hughes, and welcome to the news segment. I've been joined by my guests. We'll introduce them to you shortly, but let's look at what's happening on the front pages. Daily Guide says shady cocoa board contracts exposed, fired Stephen Opuni, and Otumfuo's sister is Asante Hima, Bank of Ghana in 4.7 billion dodgy contract. That's the Daily Guide for you. The Daily Graphic says Otumfuo selects new Asante Hima Nanama Kunedu biological sister, and government to realign expenditure to target job creation. Oforiatta Finance Minister says so, and uphold Ghana's position on boundary dispute with Cote d'Ivoire. Gloria Kufu says that, and on the back page, Sisala West farmers provided warehouses to promote dry season farming. The Daily Statement says, Inusa Sali, we must expose and shame corrupt politicians. President makes more appointments. Nana B for NSS. Ghana to support Sudan in its democratic journey. A photograph of Speaker Right Honorable Michael Quaid there. $120 million for plantation for food and jobs programs. That's also Free Akoto's ministry. A Greek there. I am not a fraudster, Catherine Afeku says, and to her critics and her accusers. The Finder newspaper says the Vice President House saga deepens from $3.5 million in 2013 to $15.7 million in January 2016. Ms. Arthur stopped project on suspicion of inflation costs, and Moody's says Ghana's deficit will heighten currency volatility. Nana Makunedu is new Asante Hima, and AMA TMA government appointees swearing in Spark Row. And BNFT, industry wails over high tariffs even as business confidence inches up. Government may not scrap energy levies. Oforiatta hints, and state attorney collapses after walking to court due to unavailability of official vehicle. Daily Heritage. So the Ghanaian Times finally for us says the new Asante Hima adored. Nana Ama Kunedu succeeds Efia Kobi Sewampim II and will create jobs, eradicate poverty, Vice President says so, and some government appointees affront to Parliament. Osei Chairman Saponsu, Minister Designate for Parliamentary Affairs, have been joined by Kamal Dean Abdullah, his coordinator for Nasara, and is a member of the MPP's communication team. Come on, welcome. Morning to you.
Thank you, my good brother.
And Abraham Amaleba is a legal practitioner and a member of the NDC's communication team. Welcome, Council.
Thank you for
How are you doing? I like your socks. It's,
I like my socks.
Yes, it's solid.
Thanks. I'll get you one.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's a promise. Good morning.
Yeah.
So, yesterday, maybe we'll take a fallout from the vetting process yesterday in Parliament. 3 of our very own were put before the majority leaders, HMS Saposo, Professor Jan Bafor and Catherine Afeku. Your brief thoughts about it, then we'll get into the details.
Well, let me say a very good morning to you once again, to my good brother, Amalaba, and to our cherished viewers out there. Indeed, I've had cause to follow the vetting process since it started.
Okay.
However, at the tail end of it, I have not been following. I must confess that the 3 you have mentioned, I've not had the opportunity of following it. However, bits and pieces of the happenings, transcriptions on paper or on portals, I've actually read and then had a bit of insight on them. For the very first time, we had a very short ceremony or short process for the majority leader in Parliament. I want to wish him well. So far, congratulations to him and congratulations to all the nominees who are yet to be approved. Those who have been approved and passed to, I say congratulations to everybody. There's a lot of work to be done ahead. I mean, he got about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But why is this so? Because it appears that history has it that they've always done that for leaders in Parliament.
Yes, they say they're leaders, they know them, they're people they can vouch for, and so it's okay. Beyond that, it's going to be, Minister for Parliamentary Affairs. And
isn't that interesting? In fact, on a very, not so much on a serious note, just on a lighter note, I just want to look at the issues that preceded the appointment or the vetting committee's work.
Okay.
When we had one of their own Honorable Ayerga, member of Parliament for Boku Central,
right,
coming out to say that, look, if you are a nominee and you are part of the vetting process as well, for him, it raises questions.
Right.
You get that?
Right.
I mean, I didn't know what actually he was looking at. But if you look at the explanation or the trend that seeks to say that leaders of Parliament sometimes are not given so much of a grilling, kind of, then you tend to side with Ayerga. Okay. When Ayerga says that, look, it's about scratch your back and I scratch my back. I scratch my back and I scratch your back.
I think that's the baby of the hybrid system we've decided to operate,
yeah,
where the president is mandated to pick about 50% of his ministers from Parliament. And, you know, Parliament works in committees. And so if the committees are already constituted, you know, before the names...
I'm not actually saying that all that he said, all that he said holds water. But I'm only looking at on the preponderance of what is happening now. Right. If we're told that, look, being a leader or merely being a leader, with all respect, being a leader, then we don't have to over-grill you because we already have confidence in you. Then, no, it doesn't stop with you. It stops with the Ghanaian populace.
Yeah.
The point is that what is the vetting? What's the purpose of the vetting? It's for us to repose confidence in the nominee. Not just only Parliament. It's for all of them because they are representing us.
But the point, yes, they are representing.
Of course.
And maybe council will come in now.
Well, it could not have. Maybe. Why did we have to telecast it? Okay. Or make sure that it's given to the media, for the media to have, for the people of Ghana to see whatever is happening. It's because they've thought of us. Even though we elected our MPs to go to Parliament, we are the same people who would also want to say, look, this minister, for his performance, for the way he delivered, the way he was up on top of issues, we believe that should he be given indeed a nod and he step into office, he's actually going to deliver.
Eloquence may not necessarily translate into results.
To a very large extent, I think that if you have knowledge of what you're doing, you would obviously have knowledge of execution.
Have you not seen people who are very eloquent?
It's not about eloquence. Eloquence is subjective. Okay? If you are going to ask me, so that I tell you that I'm going to make sure that this water is manufactured. Okay? Then you ask me, what's the process of coming out with a distilled water or mineral water? Then I'm able to tell you A to Z.
Step by step.
Okay? Obviously, you would not doubt my integrity. You would not doubt my prowess. You would not doubt my competence in coming out with that.
It could be chew, pour, pass, and forget.
No, it could not be at all. No, this is a practical, it's pragmatic.
Counsel is here.
So for me...
I'm sure he's gone to court so many times. He's seen lawyers on the opposing side, say things and argue,
even though I'm answering questions from here. Yes. But let me also ask a question. You may tell me to be a rhetorical question.
I don't answer questions.
That's why you may tell me to be a rhetorical question. Point is that, do we have in history a minister who comes to show his prowess, show his level of competence and understanding of the job at a vetting committee, then goes, land on the job and then fail? No. I'm yet to hear that. But we've had people who come to sit there and don't even have the grasp of what is happening, and they go there and they fail because they really don't understand the system. But we have never had, I'm yet to know, if you can cite one, whether NDC government, MPP government, which minister actually came to sit down and performed so well and was on top of issues. Having handed over the job, he gets there and failed. It's difficult. You don't have that.
Counsel.
Yeah.
Vetting process.
Let me say a very, very good morning to your viewers. I've watched two of the nominees yesterday. Okay. I watched the majority leader and I watched the Captain Afeko.
Okay.
I think that the practice whereby majority leaders are not taken through the processes as required in terms of the length of time and trying to quiz them what they can do when they are in the saddle smacks of discrimination. I think it's not the best to say that because that person is one of you and that he's a majority leader, and for that matter, you're not going to spend more time in grilling him. It doesn't matter if you already know him. Indeed, it is somebody you know
the job.
That you would be able to quiz him the more.
No, I agree with you.
If I'm familiar with you, you know my weaknesses. If I'm familiar with you, you know my strengths. You ask me questions about my strengths, how I can bring my strengths to bear on the job, my weaknesses. But you find that the practices, they are left to go there, and even when you look at the line of questioning, it's so cozy. as compared to those who are not members of parliament. And I think that, first and foremost, it smacks of discrimination, and it also smacks of complacency on the part of parliament.
Cronyism.
I wouldn't go that far. That is too harsh. Yes.
Or on friendly lines.
Yes, friendly lines, because you are assuming that because you know him, and you said because he speaks eloquently, you assume that everything about him is right. You don't come to that conclusion. And I think that they will have to revise their notes in an attempt to give the Ghanaian public...
I think favoritism will be a lighter word.
And
that's fine.
Particularly, for me, they are not there doing their bidding. In fact, they are representing us.
Absolutely.
And we are saying that we want the majority leader taken through some process and ask similar questions. We want to test his temperament. We want to see how he can, think on his feet. You know him, but sell him to us. And you can only sell him to us if you ask him the tough questions. I think that they will have to revise their notes.
I think to even add a bit to what my brother says, if you look at importance of vetting, it seeks some time to unearth the critical thinking nature of the person.
Right.
That's so important.
That's the crux of
Absolutely.
the process.
So when the person is confronted with an issue immediately, how is he going to handle that? I believe some of these things are looked at. Then if you then say that because it's a problem.
Now,
I thought you had finished.
I thought you had finished. For me, I thought you had landed. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought you had just landed.
I'll give you 1 minute.
With all respect, I thought you had landed.
And you also
I'll
allow
give you
me.
1 minute to run out.
Now, Catherine on my side appeared to me as somebody who knew her job that she's going into. I wasn't surprised at her performance because of her background of having done some courses in the hospitality industry. And so, yes, but I think there's a statement she made, and I think that we'll have to cross-check, that she won an appeal. My understanding and from my checks are that the appeal is still in court. And the issue about her national service, I think Parliament should take this issue of national service very seriously. Because you pass laws, and if you see your laws being flouted, how do you feel yourself? You pass the laws. You pass the laws. In fact, the first protectors of that law should not be the police, should be Parliament, because that is their baby. And so, if they find that people are flouting their laws, I've heard Osechi say that it's bad law. It's bad law in what sense? Parliament has a subsidiary legislation committee which has to check laws if they are in tandem with the Constitution. If you then say it's bad law, I'll come back to question your competence and find out whether you didn't do the right thing. I do not think that it's bad law. This law complements the Constitution, and for the time being and for now, that is the law. We can decide like they went to Parliament and amended the Local Government Act and remove people. Now you can go back to the.
I want us to understand that Parliament had majority and minority. There was a speaker. There was a fully constituted house.
The important part of this, my submission, is what I'm about to say.
Okay.
Now
I know,
the point is
but
that
before you move to the important
Yes.
part, Parliament had a majority and minority side to discuss it. My understanding was that even the roof was off and they sat in it and they had it. So
and what was the minority's position? Minority opposed it.
It's not as if they went to Parliament.
And I'm saying what was the minority position?
But
Minority opposed
but
it.
it was Parliament.
So if they want, they could go to the back to Parliament and amend the law. But for the time being, the law is the law, and we must respect it. That's my view.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I
Lex injusta non ex lex. He's a lawyer.
Okay.
And this is a Latin phrase.
So tell us to it in English.
I said lex injusta non ex lex. Bad laws don't make laws. He's a lawyer.
That's res ipsa liquitor.
That's a different one completely. You see, well, anyway, it doesn't reside or stay with an individual to say that this is a bad law, therefore we will use it, when the state have actually passed it, or when in fact it's a written law. I would agree with him on that. However, objectivity, reasonability will tell you that if this is a bad law, you do not carry it to, a very far, reaching
But until the law is repealed,
implementation.
until the law is tracked
Until
out,
it's repealed.
it applies,
But you see,
doesn't it?
interestingly, with case law, and once again, the person who is positing that it's a bad law, of course, I'm saying that he's not a judge for now. Interestingly, with case law or with our legal system, he is a lawyer. Judges sit on matters, even though, yes, explicitly you may have a law stating X, Y, Z. If the judge deems it fit to say that this law is problematic, okay, situation doesn't demand that we apply this law.
Okay.
The judge has the opportunity, the discretion, you understand, to resort to case
In
law.
this instance, the
Yes.
only leeway may be a waiver. Question is, how do we even constitute a board to grant a waiver? Under what circumstances?
With this NSS,
does
with
she
this
qualified
NSS,
for a waiver?
very well. With this NSS law, when you look at it critically, in her case, for instance, I think that she, of course, had education here. Her explanation was that having finished with her education, she moved strictly to Kenya to stay with the parents or something like that. For me, that excuse is what they should look at critically. However, on the case of
and do what?
no, of course, she's still supposed to go through the process to be given the approval, and I believe that the appointment committee, not just asking questions, would also have to go indoor to look at certain matters that has come up. Maybe try to give the recommendation before Parliament.
So what are you suggesting?
So of course, I will not do their work for them. I'm only saying that this is on the face of it, this is the information we have. Now I'm juxtaposing it to that of my sister,
Otiko Chapa.
Okay. Her case, did she finish the school here? I think she rather had the school outside, if I got the information.
She had
right.
some education here.
She has some and went to complete in the UK.
Yes.
Okay. Does the law mandate still that when you have your school over there or somewhere outside the country, done with them and ever, coming back to Ghana, I've not actually looked at the law critically. Are you supposed to still come into a national service to do it or not? That is what we have to look
What does the law say?
What does the
It
law
doesn't
say?
matter where you
So
complete
you have
your
to come
tertiary
back.
institution. When you come back, you do national service.
Okay.
And indeed, the law even goes further to say that you cannot even work as a private individual if you want to your national service. It's not just being denied employment in the public sector, but you cannot even engage in your own private business.
There's a military.
That's what the law says.
Yeah,
There's a
that's
military training element to that.
Element of
that
it,
thing.
yes.
Did you?
No, I know.
Did you do the military? Because I didn't do it.
I know.
I think
that
that
is quite. You see, but I think we've not taken it serious. Some countries like Cuba, who are you to say you won't do national service? Countries like Cuba, and most of the time they even take them through this military training and all that. But I think it's about time. It's about time we try to build it up so that at least patriotism would actually be seen to be high because it's very important.
In fact,
the waiver-
the law says. I raised a question.
But the
Talk
waiver-
about the waiver.
Yeah.
The waiver is not to be given just like that. It shouldn't be capricious.
There should be
There
reasons.
should be
What
compelling
Compelling
reasons
reasons, yes.
for the waiver.
For example,
so
what
for instance,
compelling reasons must
for
we
instance, if you are a teacher and you went to the university, you finished your tertiary institution education, and then you came back and you were supposed to continue teaching, you see that you wouldn't have done national service. But you can go to the national service and say that you were already a teacher, you've gone to university, you are back, and you are back in the teaching classroom. Now, you also notice that majority, about 90% of national service persons are sent to the schools to teach. So that in itself is seen as giving your service
Do
to the
you need to
people.
apply for it?
Yeah, you apply
You
to the
apply.
board of the National Service Secretariat. Yeah, scheme.
Great. So we'll get there. In fact, the law says 2 years, and the understanding I got was that you do one after sit form and one after
And there's
Now,
no sixth
but
form.
now that we don't have sixth
sixth
form,
form. Yes. So
it means the law. There's
the
even
law
a problem.
has a problem.
It
there.
ought to be
No,
looked
no,
at.
it needs some repeal.
Absolutely.
And it's not like it.
So when the man says bad law,
No,
then
no,
of
no,
course
no.
just
It's
but-
not all the sections
It
in the
needs
law
amendment or repeal.
that would need amendment.
it needs amendment or repeal.
So some portions may have outlived their usefulness.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Those portions,
So
like
it
you
needs
indicated,
amendment.
will be amended, but not the
So,
whole law.
so that when somebody poses that there's a bad law in the offing or looking at, then the person is somehow
It's
right.
not the
to
entire
focus on
provision.
bad law.
It's not the,
No,
bad
it's
law.
not
If
all
If
the
you have
provisions.
admitted here that
It is
there's
not-
the portions of the law needs some repeal,
Yes.
and if a law needs repeal, it becomes a bad law.
No,
Well,
no.
I
I mean, on the face of it,
I'll leave
it
it to
is.
you.
You are talking about repeal.
I don't know about bad law and good law,
well.
but page 2 of the Finding newspaper says Veep House saga deepens. Investigations conducted by the funder have revealed that former Vice President Pakwesi Emisartha stopped work on the residence of the Vice President under construction in February 2015 when the cost jumped from the original 3.56 million to 13.9 million. Architectural and Engineering Services Limited (AESL) reviewed the cost of the project upwards and in August 2014, but Pakwesi Emisartha was not convinced and started asking questions. Despite queries from the Vice President to ESL, again revised the cost of the project upwards between January and February 2015, and this compelled Pakwesi Emisartha to stop the project. Even though the project was stopped, AESL in November 2015 again increased the contract sum to 13 million. In January 2016, also ESL again revised the estimates upwards to 15.7 million. And barely a month later, in February 2016, AESL once again reviewed the contract again, this time downwards to 13.9 million. And that's where we are. This matter will not go away, obviously. Now we know that we're told by the final newspaper the Vice President had gone. He had to stop the project because he was asking questions. AESL was not forthcoming with the answers. But I've cited some documents. Yesterday, Honorable Isaac Adongo said the document is fake. But he was not able to provide another document to say that this is the actual copy, this is the true version of the document, and this is the fake. So I'm asking, this document is fake as compared to which one? But the story keeps getting murkier. Come on, Dean. What's running in your mind?
See, when I think the NDC should start learning the art of being in opposition and giving constructive criticisms. See, if you want to criticize or you want to appear cynical, you ought to be constructive, and you ought to be somebody who is indeed seen to have oneness of purpose in case you are a body. You see, the point is that you have. Yesterday, I was on one of the stations with an NDC communicator. In fact, he's a friend, Honorable Kwame Abuja, who said clearly that indeed all those, survey, conducted in terms of quantity analysis that they made, the AESL were actually right in terms of the cost, and that it costed close to $14 million. And that was the entire cost of the project. He said so. Then I said, I even said, look, then it means that our Vice President, Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, His Excellency, it's not wrong. He stated this, and you guys came lambasting him, saying all sorts of things, that he should not have said it, he should not have said a whole lot. He asked questions. If my residence, that I'm supposed to stay in as the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, is going to cost the taxpayer $14 million, not just Ghana City, $14 million, close to about 60 million Ghana cedis. I think, in my view as a Vice President, the prudence is lacking. We have places where water is lacking, places where at least it's even difficult to have students, people living from their homes to school. Go to the Volta region. These, scratchy areas where the people live on islands. If the child is going to go to school, look at the kind of suffering they have to go through. We have places like that. As we sit today, the living standard of the people has fallen, and that is why we actually campaign on change, and we have come to change.
Will the stoppage of the project fix those problems?
Why? It tells you that, you see, Asante people have a word called tema, and the last time I checked, it means that you should have some empathy, as a leader for your own people. Put yourself in the shoes of the people that you are ruling. Now, if you have people who, of course, poverty, blah, 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 is actually eating into them, and you are going to sleep in a bedroom I mean, 1 bedroom.
The question I'm asking
And
is, will the stoppage of the project,
do you know
as it
how
is
much?
now,
Do you know how much $5 million can do for some people?
would it solve the problem?
My good brother, why not? If we are able to be cost effective and make sure that we save $5 million or $6 million out of this whooping amount of 14 million just for some number of bedrooms for the vice president to stay in. Do you know what it can do? So if the vice president of the Republic of Ghana raises questions on such a cost, I'm happy that he's not the only person who raised those questions. The immediate past vice president, per your story, or per the story you just read, also raised questions. It tells you that it ought to be looked into.
You're in government now. Why not write to AES
Why?
to let them
It doesn't matter. Of course.
Submit.
But it doesn't stop us from discussing it in the public. It doesn't stop us from also coming out to tell people that, look, I'm not even surprised anyway. If the NDC had if the NDC had cause to tell Ghanaians that their office complex, even though as a political party, costed them $20 million.
Did NDC say that, or it was the NPP that?
It was everywhere. It was everywhere.
I think it was the NPP that said it.
The NDC gave the cost of their building. Are you sure about that? Go cross-check. But I do know that it was in the public domain that the NDC office complex costed $20 million. I mean, we are in government today. Of course, that is why Ghanaians have voted for us. In order to fix it, you need to ensure that whatever that is the information which is going on, that the public needs to know, you have to lay it back.
Beyond the
and
vice
let them understand
president,
that you go ahead to fix
beyond
it.
the vice president mentioning it and generating a lot of public conversation, what exactly is being done about it? Are they writing to AESL to get the actual document to settle out?
What I can say,
enough of the conjecture.
Yeah, what I can say is that indeed we have unearthed this rot, because it's a rot because of the lack of prudence nature of it. It's ostentatious. It's extravagant.
We don't have data to prove that.
Why? If the AESL has come out to tell us this is what we did about what data again?
The NDC says it's not stamped, it's not
the NDC now comes to tell you that, look, Asiedu-Dartey tells you that, look, even the NDC doesn't even know the cost of the vice president's house. Well, all those communicators from the NDC fraternity who were talking about 5-point-something million spent and this, he alone knows. They asked him, I watched him on UTV. They asked him, look, so what's the cost of the project? He couldn't even give a figure. We kept quiet. But see, you just said something. Isaac is questioning the authenticity of the document brought out by my director of communication. Okay? However, do you have any counter document to prove? No. I just told you that an NDC communicator, and for that matter, member of parliament for Adakulu, okay, my good friend Kwame Abuja, tells me that, look, the cost that is actually given by AESL and, of course, Nana Komia is the actual cost of the project.
And he's an architect.
He's an architect. Right. He even went further to explain and tell us why it should cost that much. Okay? So my point here is that, indeed, we are going to work on it. We are going to make sure that Ghanaians will not be shortchanged. Everything that will be done under Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, inshallah, the President of the Republic of Ghana, it is going to be done with what we call an eye for value for money, which is very important to us. And Ghanaians, you have given the mandate to this man. Trust me, if this man is not going to be on top of the job, he won't come out and tell you this is what is actually happening. There are a series of them. We just saw the Opuni story. This
we'll get into that one.
But is it sole sourcing? And even that project to land, that project was sole sourced. The vice president building. Sole source.
But the law, it wasn't against the law.
Wasn't against the law.
The law allows sole sourcing.
We have not said the law doesn't allow for sole sourcing. What actually was in this sole sourcing? Kasua interchange, sole source. Circle, sole source. Whatever, sole source.
It's all right.
Everything. Parliament chairs in parliament. Chairs. Seats in parliament. Sole source.
Why? So this issue doesn't seem to be going away.
Chinese chairs in parliament, sole source.
Thank you. Your time
you know
is
about
up.
that?
Your time is up. I don't manufacture my consent. Lawyer Maliba, your thoughts about this vice presidential, residence saga seems not to be going away. The documents that were pushed out by Nana Kumia, your party members say is false, it's fake, and all this is just to give you a bad name.
I think when we come to sit here, we need to be fair to the viewers and speak the truth. He just sat here moments ago and indicated that Asiedu-Dartey, our General Secretary, could not give a figure of the bungalow, how much it was.
I watched the program.
Now, and he says he watched the program. Look at Asiedu-Dartey being reported here. And this is VIP's bungalow cost 3.5, not 13.9.
Okay.
3.5 million.
Okay, come on.
Now,
Hold on. The council, before you move on, the Finder newspaper, in fact, quotes the 3.5 as the original cost.
I don't care
and then
about
says
that.
it
I'm
was
saying
worked
that-
up to 13 points.
I'm saying that there's an untruth that has been told here.
There's no
Right.
untruth.
So
That he watched Asiedu-Dartey and the Asiedu-Dartey could not provide a figure.
Yes.
absolutely,
Have I given you a figure?
you have.
No.
So that's
So I want to
satisfies-
debunk
That-
that statement.
that is
and
done.
no, I'm moving ahead.
Good.
No.
Let's move
The
on.
next point is that
I hope I
Dr.
will have to-
Bawumia
Yes, you
never
have that.
ceases to amaze me.
Very good.
I think he soaked in his previous life, which is a running mate position. And so the very same things he did in opposition are the same things he's doing as a vice president.
That's not fair to call him a
I'm
liar.
saying that.
It's not fair to call him a liar, is it?
Did I call him a liar? Or you want me to
You
use
said
that?
his lies.
Never. He never ceases to amaze me.
That's what he said.
He never ceases to amaze me.
Unless you are impugning that.
No, I'm
If
not.
you want me to use the word lie,
It's
tell
not.
me
No,
that
it's
oh,
I'm
this is
not.
what you
I'm,
want to tell me.
and Amaliba, don't go that tangent. It's okay.
Okay.
Let's move forward.
He never ceases to amaze me because these are the very same things that
never
he did when he was in opposition. Now you are in government. You listen to him. When he was in his element and he was announcing this 13.9. You listen to him. He said, when I visited a place, work has stopped.
Okay.
And I asked, why has work stopped? The contractor is old. That was the answer given to him. He said, how much? Then they say it's big. He said, how much? Then they say it's big. Then he was talking to the audience. Do you know how much they said it was? 13.9 million. And then he went further to ask, are the slabs made of gold? Are the doors made of gold? My issue is, whom did you meet at that place? You go and meet a worker of a contractor, or you go and meet an official of the contracting firm there. Is that the appropriate source? Me. Not in government. I can place a phone call to AESL and they'll give me the figure. You don't hear something from a person who is not designated to deal with those matters, and then you go public with it. What stopped him as a vice president? In any case, he's been going around engaging in surprise visits. What stopped him from going to AESL?
Is it wrong to do surprise visits?
You see, those words that you are using, I'm capable of using them, but I'm not using them because that's not what I intended.
I'm only asking a question.
I've not said, I've just made a factual statement.
That in any
He's
case-
been paying surprise
And I'm
visits.
asking, is it wrong to do surprise visits?
Oh, you're not asking a question.
That was the question I asked.
Oh, okay. So he's been making surprise visits, which is a fact.
Is it wrong to do surprise visits?
I have no opinion on it.
All right.
So he's capable of paying another surprise visit to AES if he doesn't even want to call.
Oh.
So you don't, as a vice president, your position has not changed. Now you speak down upon the economy this way, and you think you as a government will have it easy with rating agencies or with the donor agencies, because you are already telling the people that your money is misused. Whatever money will give you is misused. But you see, the mischief in all this was to indicate that the NDC was reckless in spending. I'm happy from your reading of this story. You could see the vice president at the time, Mr. Atta, disagreeing with any amounts and variations being brought from AESL, and even at a point stopped it. That's your reading.
That was after.
That is your reading.
That was after four upward adjustment.
I'm saying that is your reading. The
Right.
vice president then stopped it.
I guess you're looking at the time for us.
And it's also a fact.
You speak more than me.
Amaliba, hold on, I will do the moderation. And it's also a fact that from 3.5, it went up to another figure in 2015. It went up to another figure, 13, and then came back to 15, and then eventually came back to 13 again. After the vice president had asked questions. Vice president
Yes,
then.
but the vice president had
And
indicated
eventually
that stopped the whole process because he has seen something untoward
Right.
about it.
Absolutely.
And I'm saying that the mischief that they wanted to create is that the NDC has been reckless. But you can see our own member, NDC member, in the person of the vice president, has acted appropriately on this matter. So all that I want to say in this matter is that they are now in government. If there's a problem, I think, look, today is their 1 month in government.
Right.
What we should be talking about is how many of their promises have they been able to fulfill to the people of this country?
In
But that's
1 month, they're setting up the government, are they not?
Fighting corruption is part of our promises.
Come out, please, hold on.
Between Nana Akufo-Addo as president of Ghana and Donald Trump as president of the United States, who was inaugurated first? Donald Trump has started implementing his policies. Yes or no? You saw the executive order that he signed,
Giving me a good laugh
Huh?
this morning.
which stopped people from entering the US. That was his promise. And the people voted for him.
So
The people of this country voted for Nana Akufo-Addo, not for him to come and say that he wants to put his government well. Then after the government, he says what? He wants to do what again? Then he wants to do what again? You said they should vote for you.
So by 1 month, what promise are you hoping to see done now?
Fuel prices have gone up like 3 times under his watch and care. He indicated he was going to reduce taxes on the fuel prices. Has he done it?
So you're expecting fuel prices to go down. But let me
Has
ask
he
you,
done it?
Let me ask you a very final question before I move
This
on.
is a diversionary tactic. I want to tell, that's my conclusion.
Okay.
It's a diversionary tactic to ensure that we take our minds away of the promises. But inshallah, the people of Ghana are fully aware.
Let me ask
Look,
you.
on radio
we
stations,
need
people
to
are
move
questioning
on. We need to move
that
on.
they are not seeing any
We
change.
need to move on now. But
They
let me-
are not seeing any change.
Council, let me ask you one question. You say that all this is a ploy to paint the NDC as being a reckless,
Yes,
spending.
and you've done that
And-
to win power.
Good. So
you don't
now-
do that
Can
in
I finish?
government
Can
again.
I finish my
Yes,
question?
yes.
So now you say also that the vice president saw what was going on and stopped it, and just to prove some appropriation. I'm saying that does it just end with stopping, or do you stop to audit what has been done in the past? What could the vice president have done better? I mean, Vice President Ms. Arthur, just stopping it, asking questions, or stopping it.
Your question is to go into details of the vice president's acts and actions and what he did.
We know that
I'm saying
he
that
questioned
no.
and he stopped. What did he
Yes.
do beyond questioning and stopping? Did he call for an audit to settle the minds of everybody?
So let me answer now. The question now being asked by you is now to look at the former vice president's action, whether it went beyond just stopping.
Do you know? What do you know? What do you
and
know?
let me tell you, and I will not be able to sit here now because the focus was not on the vice president's actions on the matter. So the details is not on my fingertips. But in any case, we are out of government.
Okay.
So
Being
that's-
out of
that's
government,
your- that's your.
you now have people who are in the saddle. Look,
Thank you.
Let
But
them
you-
fix
you-
it.
You don't have an answer. So
Fix it.
Come on. I'll give you a
Fix
few
it.
minutes on this one, and then move to the next issue.
Fix it.
Quick one. He says we wanted to, or our motive is to unearth the reckless expenditure that the
I didn't
NDC
say that.
No, no.
I didn't,
He said our motive.
No. I
Or
didn't say
was to
that.
paint the picture.
I didn't say that you want to unearth the reckless expenditure. If I said that, it meant that we were engaged in reckless
Okay.
expenditure.
What did you
So,
say?
so what did he say?
I'm saying that
you use the word reckless.
Come on, hold on, please.
was to paint or give an impression that the NDC was engaged in reckless spending.
Very well.
Right.
Very well.
Thank you.
Thank
Come
you
on.
for your correction. But you see, it's not. You are still on the same page with me.
No, that's not
It
for
can
you.
be- it
Point
can be-
here
it
is
can
that-
be-
excuse me,
it can
excuse
be-
me,
it
excuse
can
me,
be.
excuse me. If the immediate past vice president, questioned the prudence of the cost that has been allotted or was allotted to this particular project. Okay? And based on that, Amalba says that the NDC, were not reckless. Okay? However, what he fell short to say, Amalba, what you fell short to say was whether or not the questioning of the inappropriate, ostentatious, extravagant, and to a very large extent, let me use the word wicked expenditure to get a house for the vice president really worked. It didn't work.
What does that mean?
Point is that if you come and tell me that, look, I am
really
questioning
work? What does that mean?
if it actually worked, if your question actually worked, your questioning of it, that look, this amount is rather too much on the higher side. I think it should be looked at and reviewed. Only for it to be reviewed to rather go up.
Well,
then of course
it was reviewed upwards. Vice President asked a question, it was reviewed
questions
downwards, and then eventually was stopped.
Downward.
That's how far we know.
He's not
No,
listening.
no, wait, I'm listening.
Oh, hold on.
I beg you. Please.
Hold on, Amalba.
He's-
Let-
Amalba,
Amalba can do better.
You
know
have-
I can do better. Let me
gentlemen.
allow me.
You
Allow
have-
me.
you have-
Amalba, be a gentleman this
You have
morning.
intervened.
Amalba, be a gentleman this morning and understand me.
Come on,
Amalba, be
I
a
won't take
gentleman.
this, please.
No, you should be a
Let's
gentleman,
give our
understand me.
viewers
Of course, that's what I'm
some
saying. That of
deference,
course, that's
please.
okay.
I beg you.
You see, the point is that as we sit here, I have told you that we've had people from the NDC confirming that the cost of the building is 13.9 million, almost $14 million.
The General Secretary says 3.5.
The General Secretary said what? That's what he read from a portal. I am telling you that they held a press conference by Frederick Banyo, their Deputy Director of Communication, to say that so far, the amount that has been spent on that building is around $5.9 million or so. If you tell me here that a news report tells you your General Secretary said that the cost of the project is 3.5 million, the same General Secretary's party commissioned someone to go and do a press conference to tell us that 5.9 million has actually been spent on the project so far, and it's not completed yet. Then the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia, tells you, look, this is the information we have. Cost of the building to house me is almost 13.9 million. Then I ask a question. Is it going to be fitted with golden doors? Wait, no, I'm just landing.
We have all looked into these.
So all this thing has gone. So I'm establishing the fact that
moving on, facts have been established. Moving on, we want to get to a point of logical conclusion as opposed to getting into further confusion.
Very well.
Would the MPP in government now, because that's what the NDC is saying, write to AESL to ask why the project was stopped, what the actual figure is, and constitute an audit,
certainly,
which will give us some answers,
certainly,
concrete answers.
if the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana saw nothing wrong with the cost, he would not have even
beyond just stopping it,
of course,
and asking the question.
My good brother,
we want
my
good
good
answers.
brother. The point is that you should I'm just telling you, certainly, if he wouldn't have done anything about it, if the government of the day today, led by Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, would not do anything about it, I'm not sure they will even raise eyebrows on this. They would not even raise questions. But the fact that they've raised questions, they're talking about prudence. They would make sure that, of course, whoever has a hand in it would have to sit down with them and they look at it and make sure that they will not shortchange the people of Ghana. That's the point I'm making. However, you asked Amalba a question whether or not he was impugning that the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana lied. Okay?
He said he didn't.
He said he didn't.
Yes.
And I want to also reiterate that the cost of the project, as churned out by the Vice President when he had the information, being 13.9 million, is what it is. Because nobody has come to dispute that. And even by your readings, you have come to prove that indeed it is around 13.9 million. So where is the problem of the Vice President when somebody sits down here to say that he still thinks that he's in a campaign mood? I mean, you don't even really understand yourself.
Thank you.
What the man says is what is the matter.
Thank you.
Then you want to come and say that he still looks like somebody who is in a campaign mood.
Thank you.
You shouldn't say the truth.
The government, the Business and Financial Times reports that the government may not scrap energy levies.
Yeah.
And according to Finance Minister Oforiatta, the controversial energy sector levies may not be scrapped, as Finance Minister Ken Oforiatta has given indication they are needed to extinguish the web of debt in the sector, which also threatens the survival of the banking sector. This was a promise, one of the promises of the campaign, that we're going to rob them off.
I was just coming to that. I'm taking it.
Well,
Amaleba
hold on.
No,
It's Amaleba's turn now. Amaleba will speak first. You will speak first. You have spoken. So we don't have a lot of time.
But you're not giving the entire time to him.
This
My
was
brother, I'm not sure I give the entire time to him.
No, I'm not. I'll give you.
Because I'm also watching.
You see, these were promises made to the people of this country. The people listened to these promises, juicy, enticing, tantalizing as they are, and entrusted their destiny into your hands. This is not the only promise they are saying that they won't do. There have been others.
But we're focusing on
I know. They're just to tell the listening public that it's not like this is the first disappointment. There have been previous disappointments. We indicated that this energy sector levy have been structured in such a way as to pay off debts and to ensure that we continue to have energy for this country. You know that some parts of the country are experiencing doomsday.
Right.
You do not sit in opposition when you are not in the saddle and deceive the people to vote for you and then come out to say this. I think that this is a time for us to be citizens and not spectators. This is a time for the people of this country to come out and demonstrate against this public deception.
How do you think they should get out into the streets?
I am calling the people of this country who entrusted their destiny in the hands of the MPP, who listened to the promises and voted. And now we are being told by no less a person than the finance minister that these levies are not going to.
So what do you want the people of
in their manifesto, they cited some people. Taxi drivers are suffering, trotro drivers are suffering, market women are suffering. Is in their manifesto? Question to ask: was it not because of these levies that the MPP came out with that document that people are suffering? I remember Nana Akufo-Addo going to Labadi and taking people's electricity bills, and they were showing to him. And then he said he was going to reduce them. That is why the people of La voted for Nana Akufo-Addo. So, that's why they kicked out our member of parliament.
What do you want the people to do?
I want the people to come out to demonstrate against this grand public deception. It cannot happen. I have cited an example in the US where Trump is implementing his promises. This is what you ask the people to vote for.
Right.
And I'm disappointed in what they are doing. I think that it's time. I would encourage people to begin to be citizens.
Will you rally the people to go out there? Will you lead a demonstration?
People should be citizens and not spectators.
Will you lead a demonstration?
Why? I can be in a demonstration.
Okay, sure. Come on.
Interesting.
Public deception.
Governance is an art.
We are there.
Governance is an art. Competence in implementing matters relating to issues of governance, which will give us the good governance that we so much need, is also an art. So that when you were voted out as a result of your incompetence.
Wait a minute.
Let's not stretch. If I don't land, I will have a problem.
I know.
With all respect to you.
Let's not stretch the argument.
Don't truncate. Don't truncate my line of thought.
But don't stretch
I'm not stretching it at all. I'm only telling you that indeed we've had situations in this country. I am not saying that the report as we have it now on paper is not what is actually being reported.
This is your finance
but
minister.
We've had, wait a minute, we've had times without, number. When reports come out, you go to seek for the veracity of what actually the case is. Then you are told a different story. Okay? I know, and I'm not running away from that fact, that indeed our manifesto seeks to say that we are paying so much for electricity. Okay? We are paying so much on tariffs. Therefore, should we come unnecessary levy taxes, which of course sees it as
dismissing the finance minister's statement?
not too long ago. I am only telling you, I'm buttressing our position. as a party in
That
government.
we need the levies to extinguish the debt.
I have just told you that I know that this is our position. I also know that the finance minister, Honorable Ken Oforiatta, okay, not too long ago says that, look, it is important we look into the books critically, we look into what is happening and do away with what we call nuisance taxes.
Okay, so
now if all these things,
we need to go, I'm afraid.
If that was reported, today we have a report again saying that levies are needed to ensure that they extinguish the debt that we so much have on the energy sector. Okay, it does not mean entirely that some amount of taxes would not actually be taken out.
No, we're talking about the levy,
That's what I mean.
energy levy.
Listen, that doesn't mean that some taxes will not be taken out.
Energy levy.
So
that generally, but
listen.
so you agree that the energy levy will go. Thank you. Thank you.
The rules have changed.
Thank you.
The rules have changed.
Thank you
You
very
think it was
much.
easy to be in government?
When
You think it's easy to be in government?
we'll return with more and more. Thank you very much.